I'm Ed O'Keefe in Washington. Tonight on America Decides, peace goals. After almost 3 years of fighting between Russia and Ukraine, President Trump says late today he's working to end the war. Details on his conversations with both nations embroiled in that conflict and what happens next. Democrats on Doge. California Congressman Robert Garcia among those going after Elon Musk during a subcommittee on Doge, their first hearing held today.
We know that he is leading a power grab, also abided by and encouraged by Donald Trump and, of course, the chairwoman, Congresswoman Green. It's a demolition plan that's going to run through our government.
Continue. Tulsi Gabbard has been sworn in as the next director of national intelligence. The president's pick getting the job despite some notable Republican opposition. We'll tell you who exactly. Let's start this evening with Jennifer Jacobs here with me in Washington and Nikole Killion on Capitol Hill. Nikole, of course, is our congressional correspondent. And let me begin with you, Nikole. The notable Republican objector to Tulsi Gabbard was none other than the former Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. What was his reason for voting no?
Well, he said that he believes that the role of the Senate is to advise and consent, but that the Senate should not consent when it believes that a candidate is unqualified. And in his view, he believed that Tulsi Gabbard was not qualified, not up to the task for serving as the director of national intelligence, because he believes that she has an alarming lapse in judgment, to use his words, as someone who would oversee the intelligence community, someone who prepares the president's daily presidential brief, that simply there were too many questions with regard to her posture and stance. And while she did answer senators' questions during that confirmation hearing a couple of weeks ago with respect to her views on Russia, the war with Ukraine, with respect to the visit she took to Syria when she was a member of Congress, her views about FISA and government surveillance, ultimately, we saw a number of Republican senators on that committee, even though they had some really sharp questions for her, ultimately fall in line, whether that was Senator Langford, whether that was Maine Senator Susan Collins, and others. They say, or said in their statements ahead of this vote, that they believe that she satisfied their questions and concerns, which is why they were comfortable with moving forward with her nomination, even though McConnell was a lone Republican who sided with Democrats in opposing her. The White House saying earlier today they were disappointed by McConnell's vote.
Nikole Killion on Capitol Hill. Stick with us for a second. Jennifer Jacobs is here with me in the Bureau, having run over from the White House. You were in the Oval Office for what the president had to say this afternoon.
As I could, yes.
Well, you're a good, loyal colleague. We appreciate that. It seems the big headline coming out of that exchange with reporters is him laying out more of his views on where he thinks the situation in Ukraine is headed, and acknowledging now, as the defense secretary did earlier today, that Ukraine may never restore its border to what it was back in 2014.
That's right. He told us that his phone call with President Putin lasted about an hour. They did discuss meeting, and the president told us he would like to meet with Putin in Saudi Arabia, perhaps. He said the first time. He hinted that there will be multiple meetings. He talked about a second meeting. He said the first one we'd like to meet in Saudi Arabia. He did say he expressed confidence that Putin wants this war to end and that he doesn't want the war to continue. He wants a solid, finite end to it. He doesn't want the war to restart later. The president also talked a lot about Europe and funding, and vented a little bit about how the United States has paid, he said, $350 billion to help Ukraine in this war. And he said that Europe has paid far less. So he expressed some frustration at that. But he did say that he thinks that they are getting close to a peace plan. Of course, we asked what his peace plan is. He wouldn't specify what that is. But he talked about how he had a great call with Putin. He truly believes that Putin is ready to end this war.
The White House says an American was released by Belarus earlier today, a few hours after the release of Mark Fogel. What can you tell us about how that came together? And is the Fogel release at all connected to this Belarusian release?
Right. So we talked to Adam Boehler today, who's the president's special envoy for hostage situations. And Adam told us that this was the second part of a two-part release of people from Belarus. The person that was released today, one is an American and has declined to be identified, asked said, I'm a private citizen. I don't want to be named. The other two are not Americans. One is a Radio Liberty journalist.
Right.
So I'm not clear on who all these people are. Another person had been released in January who also, I'm not even sure if that person was a citizen or not.
Yeah.
So it sounds like 4 people released from Belarus in the last few weeks. It doesn't sound like it's directly tied to the American teacher from Pennsylvania, but the president has been really leaning hard on adversaries who have been detaining people to get them out quickly.
And shows some goodwill towards the United States to sort of justify the meetings that may now happen between the American and Russian leaders.
Exactly.
We'll Nikole, Killion, back to you on Capitol Hill real quick in our remaining moments. The next big confirmation vote is for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and after all the ink that's been spilled about him and the concerns raised by Democrats, looks like he's also headed for an easy confirmation, no?
Yeah, well, I think it's a pattern that we have seen time and again here on Capitol Hill in terms of a lot of these nominees getting pushed back at the outset, whether that was Pete Hegseth or, as we just discussed, Tulsi Gabbard, of course, in the case of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Certainly he faced a lot of skepticism from lawmakers, although at the same time there was a question about whether he would get bipartisan support from lawmakers, for instance, for his views with respect to environmental and food safety. But ultimately it was his views on vaccines and vaccine skepticism that gave some lawmakers pause, including Bill Cassidy, who's a physician, Republican, who leads the Senate Health Committee. But ultimately, he got to a yes on RFK Jr. In that committee vote, voting him out of committee after he had conversations with Kennedy and with Vice President J.D. Vance. So, really, once these nominees kind of emerge out of committee, it kind of starts to clear the path for them when it comes to these fuller Senate votes, although there were some Senate Democrats who told me ahead of this vote they thought that there could potentially be some additional no votes, but that remains to be seen as we expect him to likely be confirmed along party lines.
Jennifer Jacobs, in the White House briefing earlier today, you asked about Elon Musk's claims of fraud in the government as he continues running the Department of Government Efficiency, and what he had said yesterday in the Oval Office. I think we have that exchange, and if we do, let's play it and take a listen.
Is the White House willing to share evidence of those fraud claims, or can Elon Musk come to the briefing room and share material evidence of what he's talking about?
Sure, I would love for Elon Musk to come to the briefing room. That's why we had him go to the Oval Office yesterday, where I think he provided great answers. He was speaking in layman's terms, speaking common sense to all of you in the media, but also to Americans at home. But I would say especially to all of you in the media, because I think it's a real fallacy that there's this alleged lack of transparency when it comes to Doge.
Well, the issue is we don't know what exactly he's doing, where he's doing it, who he's doing it with, what authority they're working on. So that's why there's concerns about the transparency. What did you make of her answer in her defense of what he's doing?
Right. It's just really hard to tell if the examples she's citing are examples of waste or things that are in contradiction to the president's policies, or if they actually are fraud or quote-unquote corruption. You've noticed that they've kind of turned away from using the word corruption lately, and they've been sticking to waste and fraud. So she did commit to either having Elon Musk come and address our questions. She said she has receipts, and she's willing to share those, so you can bet that we're going to follow up on that. Interestingly, the president in the Oval Office initiated a conversation about Elon Musk and said he really wants to thank Elon Musk. He said they started out on the Doge team without about a dozen people. It went up to 25. He said they're now at 100 or more.
Who are these people, right?
Correct. We don't have a full list of them. We don't know exactly where they are. We don't know how many agencies they're in. We know that they're in at least a dozen agencies, and we know that they have representative and contacts in almost every agency. He did say, the president in the Oval did say that the Department of Education is something that he's focused on changing next. And one of the reporters said, how quickly would you like to close the Department of Education? And he said, I'd like to close it immediately.
Yeah.
And he called it a con job. So there are a few agencies that Doge is really focusing on, and we keep asking questions and trying to get those receipts that Caroline Levitt referred to.
We look forward to seeing them. Jennifer Jacobs, thanks for running back over here to be with us. Nikole, Killion on Capitol Hill as well, thanks to you as well.